Right. This is the definition of the hustle. And like, I just don't know how people make money.
At this point right now, have you broken even with your gardening?
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
You need to mark down the time for that noise, because that'll be great for the like small clips.
It is the Tossing Salad Podcast. I am Brian Samatros, your host, and today we continue our mini-series, of which I am calling Every Day I'm Hustling, Every Day I'm Hustling, Every Day I'm Hustling. You like my energy, Amanda?
I'm feeling your energy. It's contagious.
This is our guest today, Amanda, the ever hopeful gardener. You may recognize, if you're one of the 5 frequent listeners or viewers, Amanda is back on the show, but she's usually here on a live, which are a little more kind of laid back and you just never know what's going to happen. But today's an important episode that I wanted to get her on an official podcast to talk about the everyday I'm hustling culture, which is slightly different than the hustle culture. Which, Amanda, I'm kind of curious with what you think. When I looked up hustle culture, when I first told you about my idea about doing this little mini-series with a few people, I was like, the hustle culture is really, it's kind of cool, right? The hustle, we're hustling, doing a bunch of stuff, trying to make a quick buck here and there. And apparently hustle culture got canceled last year. It was kind of co-opted by either Gen X or millennials. I don't know if you've heard that. What's your thoughts on the hustle culture in general?
I didn't know there were 2 different things. I didn't know that everyday hustle and the hustle culture were 2 different things. I do feel like there's been a backlash about trying to monetize your hobbies.
Yeah.
And that, you should be protective of the things that bring you joy, because so often trying to turn them into a hustle or a side gig can ruin them for you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything. I mean, I should have done my research. I didn't know about this millennials co-opting hustle culture thing.
Yeah, apparently last year. And the whole issue behind that, and you mentioned it, is the grand scheme of things with hustle culture and why millennials or not Gen X, millennials, and who are the other ones?
Z.
They're the ones that we're at war with? Z. I think we're at war with them, right?
Yeah, it's like that Brad Pitt movie, World War Z.
Oh, there you go. But it's hustle culture is something to where, from what I was reading yesterday, you put all your time and energy into trying to get by and make it in the world at the expense of your personal pleasures and taking care of yourself. And I'm like, okay, I get it, kind of. But then that also kind of still coincides with what we're going to talk about, in that this hustle culture that we're going to get into, turning whether they're a hobby or an interest or a passion, into potentially a side business, a little side hustle to make some money. That kind of comes at the expense of your personal pleasure and feeling good. And you run the risk of kind of ruining what you like because you've made it into a business.
I mean, I think there's a lot to talk about there. And I think a lot of people are going to have very different opinions on it. And I don't think the people who haven't tried to do it yet can really, I don't think it's fair for them to really weigh in, because they haven't had that, they haven't experienced what it is to try and turn something that is just a hobby and just something that you love into a form of compensation. I don't know. It's a very odd scenario to be in. And I'm personally struggling with it.
Well, let's set the stage.
Okay.
If I may, with you. Let's go back a few years, because what we're going to get into with you personally is your passion about gardening in general, right? Mm-hmm. Like, all of these side businesses, I assume we could get into some other things today, all stem from this passion of gardening that was kind of just for fun a few years ago. And then what?
Right. And then what? That's the great question. And then what? I have forever been banging my fist and saying, I'm just doing this for fun. I'm just doing this for fun. Well, there comes a point where if you're on social media, whatever your platform of choice is, if you hit a certain level of followers, community, things shift and change, and your I'm just here for fun is a little bit less fun the bigger your account gets. You want to do things the way you set out to do them, and that is to engage with the people that interact with you and to have meaningful conversations and develop relationships. But how do you do that when you hit 20,000 followers? You can't do that with 20,000 people. You also don't have enough hours in the day to do that once you have a certain number of people that are wanting your time, your knowledge, your opinion. And you get in this really tricky space of like, I want to be true to why I'm here and what brings me joy, and that's interacting with people. And like, I also have children and a house and a husband and dogs and things I like to do that are non-gardening related. Luckily, I don't have a job, because I don't know how people would even consider doing that if they had a regular job.
Well, and that's kind of what we're talking about in this mini series, Every Day I'm Hustling, because you mentioned that luckily, because you don't have a job, I think what potentially you mean is you don't have this traditional 9-to-5 job that you're going and sitting down at a desk somewhere and then you clock out and you come home and you have fun playing on the internet and getting on Instagram and in between doing all the shuttling the kids back and forth and all the regular stuff that comes with the family.
Right.
But your gardening fun, that was a very personal thing that you had just said, like you're building up relationships with, people here and there. And then as your account grows, there's this pressure to sustain and continue putting stuff out there. And it starts out with a few times during the week to, well, I need to put something out there every day. And then a few times a day. And then, oh, but here's another platform too. So then you're doing it not only for one platform, but for another platform and then another platform. And then as your account starts to grow and just being a regular Amanda, I have to imagine that you get a lot of questions, right? You get people that'll put things in your comments, and you're a very responsive person. You're very nice, very helpful to everybody. I think you feel this need to have to answer everybody that takes the time to leave a comment, which I think is cool. I don't see how that's done. My account is a lot smaller than yours is, and there's times where I'm like, I post and ghost. And I know you've talked about posting and ghosting before. You're not supposed to do that if you're building up community. I'm all about posting and ghosting. Well, one, because I'm an introvert and I don't want to talk to people, and it's on my own time. But you spend the time, you spend the energy and the effort to respond to people in your comments, in your DMs, as well as putting out content that I find that is somewhat unique out there within gardening. Well, it's a job.
It could be described as such. Yes. One, thank you for saying that the content is somewhat unique. It's very hard. I feel like so many people are out there putting out gardening content that, we're at the time where everybody's going to be showing their garlic harvest.
Which is what you and I just did on the exact same garlic. Yes.
Yeah. And I just thought it was hilarious. We were actually, without talking, pulling our same variety of garlic on the same day. And so how do you stand out in a sea of hundreds of thousands of gardeners all pulling their garlic in the same month and make yours even somewhat interesting? That takes effort. Answering people's comments and DMs takes a ridiculous amount of time. And I have to say, I've gotten to the point, and I said it in my stories, that if you treat me like Google, hey, I'm all for you asking my opinion on something, but if you treat me like Google, you're going to get the emoji of the person that's like, oh, no, like, I'm done. Like, I'm not going to sit here and answer.
What does that mean? Explain. What does, if we treat you like Google, what does that mean?
It means if you say, like, how many hours of sun does a rose require? Or can you plant XYZ in the shade? What pH soil is best for growing blueberries? Here's a picture of a leaf with a hole in it. What do you think ate it? Like, no, no. Like, there is Google for that. And Google makes money to be Google. I don't get paid. I don't know who they think is paying me to answer their questions, because the answer is nobody.
Well, that's the double-edged sword, because I know exactly what you're talking about, and I see it happen on your account, and it used to happen on mine back when I was a little more involved with my gardening account. You come across as being very nice and helpful, like I said, and you put out fantastic tips for gardeners, primarily kind of just getting out there and having fun, and you're very big into saying, look, there's no real one way of doing things, and what may work for Amanda may not work for you, but everybody should kind of try what they're doing. But you're kind of just showing what you're doing, I'm showing what I'm doing. But I think people forget that. I think they feel like they have this, and I was going to say they have this one-on-one relationship with you, and I do think people do feel that because you make them feel that way. I think you go out of your way to make everybody that follows you feel like they have this one-on-one relationship with you. And so it's just like, hey, Amanda, my tomato plant died today. Why? And then you're kind of stuck. But the problem is, I don't think people see that you're getting those type of questions from multiple people, multiple times a day.
Right. And I actually think a lot of people don't know how many followers someone on any social media platform has. I mean, I've had people who I've been friends with on IG for 4 years all of a sudden DM me and be like, holy S, I didn't know your account was this big. What happened? Holy crap. Like, they have no idea. So I think a lot of people who are sending direct messages, asking questions, they don't even know how many followers you have, and then process, like, if I'm asking a question, how many other people might be asking a question. And also, I think if they are looking at how many followers you have, when you hit a certain number of followers and you are attempting to monetize, I do believe that a lot of people have assistants, social media managers, photographers, videographers, people that are helping put together their content, answering their DMs, or being there and like an assistant and like doing their grocery shopping or things around the house so that that person can actually have the time to do it.
Right.
I think a lot of people assume, sorry, my hat's bothering me. I think a lot of people assume there's more than just me, because I think a lot of accounts that are big do have help.
Well, your account kind of exploded at what point? Was it right over the pandemic? Because when did you start you started on Instagram, right? For your gardening, even though you're on TikTok as the Ever Hopeful Gardener, you're on YouTube, the Ever Hopeful Gardener, but you started Instagram as your main platform, right?
Yes. I started IG in the pandemic, May of 2020, or would have been 2019. I don't even remember when the pandemic was, but
yeah.
And then, I don't know when it really took off because I wasn't paying attention to that. I mean, you know how many followers you have, but I don't remember being like, oh my God.
But as of today, just so people kind of have an idea as we're talking about just the amount of interaction that you would get, because I know how much I kind of get in my accounts, ballpark, like on Instagram, my personal garden account, I think I've got 2,000 or something. On TikTok, I've got a little over 40,000, and that's not the podcast account. My podcast account is pretty new over the last year and a half or so that's kind of still growing. But your account on Instagram, that's your biggest one, right?
Yes, that's where I put the most of my time and effort, and that's 133,000 followers.
I think a lot of times we don't realize when we're kind of talking to you. I'm still kind of amazed that you still interact with me as much as you do, and goof around and do stupid things with you and I go back and forth with just stupid quirky videos, and I'm like, somebody that has over 100,000 followers shouldn't be doing this. They should be tending to their account and the businesses.
But see, that's it right there. So I'm still here for fun, and so fun is always the priority, because I have not had the mind shift of this needs to become a family money-making sustaining endeavor, right? So everything that I'm doing is gravy for our household. I'm not quitting my job that's supplying an income source to our household to then try and make money on the internet. That's not what my situation is. And I think I want to send a word of caution to anyone that thinks they can hop on whatever social media platform, post a couple videos, post a couple inspirational quotes, and start making money. because it is not the case. And we can get into the specifics because I have never shied away from sharing actual dollar amounts. I know it upsets some people, it makes people feel uncomfortable, but I'll tell you what, when I'm listening to someone talk about monetizing anything, if they don't give me concrete data points, I can't really understand it, because one person's perception of oh, that's a lot of money. Well, what's a lot of money to you? It's probably not the same to me. And like, what's not a lot of money to me is different to someone else. So unless you provide those concrete data points, I don't think people can evaluate for themselves, is this an endeavor I even want to embark on?
Before we get into some details, which I know you're really good at details and getting prepared to talk about some things, do you feel like the currency for you right now, the dilemma where you're at right now with social media and your gardening accounts, your side hustle here, is the currency pretty much your enjoyment, your personal enjoyment to sustain and keep going with what you're doing, or that's not enough?
So that's a great question.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I still am here for fun, and like that is my main goal. And I don't want gardening to turn into something that I despise or that's a chore. And so I am trying to figure out what is the balance of feeling like I'm getting some type of compensation for the time I'm spending answering questions, putting out educational content, and we're using the word educational quite loosely. Maybe entertaining would be better.
It's definitely entertaining.
But how do I balance that and the opportunity cost of what I could be doing if I wasn't doing that to make it worth it? And so I have decided that if I can bring in at least enough money to cover my expenses in the garden, that will make me feel better about the time I'm spending here. And then to maybe bring in some extra money that allows my family and like my kids to do something fun. Like maybe if I could make a little extra gravy this year, when we go on spring break next year, I don't know, maybe we could fly first class. Kids have never flown first class before. You know, like that would be kind of cool. And that would be an experience with my kids that would make all the time I'm doing with like the keyboard more enjoyable, knowing that I'm doing that.
So let me ask you this. If we're going to say as of today, right now, what you're putting into your gardening hustle, and we've been focused on the social media, and there's some other parts of your hustle that we haven't talked about just yet, but the amount of effort and time that you're putting into it as of right now, is that worth it right now personally for you, as far as you're getting the entertainment and it's making you feel good to sustain? And just from here on out, if you don't make any money, you'll continue to do what you're doing. From what we're seeing of Amanda and the Ever Hopeful Gardener, you're getting out what you're putting in, or you're feeling like you're running at a deficit and you're going to have to either scale back or monetarily have to make a little bit more to make it worthwhile?
Difficult to answer. So I think right now I'm still having fun and I'm bringing in enough money to say it's still fun, because I'm saying no to more than I'm saying yes to. I've also gotten better about not letting people be a drain on my time, that I realize like this person is probably just seeing if I'm going to respond, or they could go to Google. Like I'm getting better about setting some limits in terms of my interactions. I think I'm getting smarter, but for a long time, I was trying to figure out in which playground do I play? Like I know IG and I've been in that lane for a while. And then you got me to try TikTok. I'm still kind of hate TikTok.
But it's a different lake to fish in, to where other people can discover you. So,
and it takes a while to build your following there to even see, can you make money here? You know, there's a lot of hurdles you have to jump through to be able to qualify to make money. And I feel like I've just hit those hurdles after like 2.5 years. I'm at 13,000 followers. I think you have the last time I looked, it was 45. Who knows? It could be 100,000 right now. I don't know what you have.
Yeah, just over 40. I've taken a long extended kind of gardening break, so I haven't been feeding those, much of my gardening platform. But
Right.
yeah, go ahead though.
So I've been like dabbling in TikTok, trying to understand what that beast is, and is that a better playground than IG? And I still don't think it's a better playground. And then I've been dabbling in YouTube, which, Jesus, I mean, they've got their hurdles, benchmarks. I'm still not even eligible to make money on YouTube. So I'm kind of like, is that even worth putting my time and effort into? And I'm on Facebook, but like, I don't know what I'm doing on Facebook. That's where IG just automatically posts over there. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, okay.
So, but it sounds like you're kind of comparing them all to your main platform, which is Instagram. And so I'm curious, do you see them as you have to eventually just pick one and stick with one? Or are you saying you almost have to have a hand in every single one of the big players, maybe just to protect your name?
Okay. I want to answer this a couple different ways. So I feel like if your goal is to monetize, you might need to dabble in all of them to see where you hit. Like what your content style, what you're putting out there might do better on TikTok than it does on Instagram. And if your goal is to monetize, then you want to go with the platform that supports your style of content. I do think that I need to figure out which lane I want to really spend my time in. And I'm leaning more towards YouTube because everyone keeps messaging me that that's like you put your content out and you actually get compensated by YouTube for your content. Whereas with all the other social media platforms, you don't really get very well compensated for your content. You have to find other ways to make money on those platforms.
I believe I've kind of heard and read the same thing from other kind of creators, and that YouTube has a better ad revenue sharing program with creators than the other platforms do also. I just want to kind of throw out there, though, the possibility that, let's just say, Instagram is your number one platform, you're monetized, things are going well, or it could be TikTok or YouTube, but pick a platform that you're doing well in. And I've had something that has happened to me in the last month that I'm like, oh, now it's just all gone. Because my Tossing Salad TikTok account, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was permanently banned from. Now, I wasn't monetized on that account yet, but I was steadily growing. Again, it's a new account and everything. I post fun content. My intent for pretty much everything Tossing Salad is either fun, making fun of myself, or just basic stuff. I'm not out there being controversial or anything like that we've all pretty much have seen on social media platforms. But just out of one day, I just, boom, my account was just gone and I can't get it back, and it was just done.
Yeah.
And if that's a platform to where you were monetized and you were making money and you're dependent on it, that could easily happen to you. Now, prior to that happening to me, when people would complain and say, oh, I lost my account for no reason, Instagram banned me for no reason, TikTok banned me for no reason, I would kind of roll my eyes, be like, oh yeah, sure, you're probably posting stolen content or you're doing stuff. I was like, sure. And then it happens to me and I'm like, oh my God, it can just happen for no rhyme or reason. And they don't owe you anything. They don't owe you an explanation or a reply. It could just be up and it just could be gone.
Right. So I've heard about that happening on TikTok and I've heard about it happening on IG. Have you ever heard of anyone having that happen to them on YouTube?
Yeah.
Oh.
There's a whole, I follow on Reddit. Reddit's a whole nother platform, but I use that as my information for various things that I'm interested in. It's great info. And the subreddit, there's a YouTube subreddit. I forget what it's called, either NewTube or it's for people that are trying to create an account on YouTube and grow it and make it and monetize and everything. And daily, it's nothing but people that have lost their account for no reason.
Oh my God.
And they're trying to find out why. So the thing is, these platforms, you're not going to get a reason why a lot of times, and your account could just be gone. And there's people that claim that the platform owes them money, and then their account was just banned. And they were like,
it's a way for the company to not have to pay them.
you know, you and I have talked about this before, unless we know all the details, kind of like when people talk about monetizing and how much money they make or whatever, unless we really know the details and we peel back the curtain a little bit just to kind of see what's really going on, it's hard to say. But all I know is your account could just be gone. You're going to have to definitely diversify platforms. And then you have also diversified not only within social media and the different platforms, but you also have gotten into selling like an actual product.
Right.
Which, how is that going?
It's been an interesting learning experience. So I don't regret doing it because I feel passionately about the product. There's very few things I can imagine actually feeling good about selling, and this is one of the few. And
it's so bizarre though. Hold on, because if people are listening to this and they're like, well, I wonder what Amanda's selling that's gardening related, you know? And I think people, their minds are going to be like, wait, what did she just say that she sells? Insect frass. Yeah. Right?
Yes. Insect poop.
And so explain this. I mean, because people are like, what? And they're going back 5 to 10 seconds. So Amanda not only has monetized a little bit on social media, which we'll get into some detail here in just a second, but I want to kind of make sure we talk about the fact that she has diversified also outside of social media and is selling a physical product.
Right. So, I mean, do you want any of like the background of like how I got into it or?
Well, yeah, I want to know when you started buying it, because I bought the same thing. You just started using it as a consumer. Start from there.
Well, okay. What happened was a gentleman reached out to me from a company, and his idea was he would get some gardeners to market insect frass, which is a great plant food. It's like the insect excrement from black soldier fly larvae. He reached out to several gardeners. I was one of them. I was super wary. I was like, I don't know, like who you are. You could be like a weirdo. Like he wanted me to give him money up front.
Which is highly likely that he could have been.
Right. So I insisted on like a Zoom call. I felt like I needed to see him and speak to him in real time. I said, well, you know what? You send me some and I'm going to test it out in my garden. And if I think this is cool and like works, I'll get back to you. Well, unfortunately, this was like in like beginning of summer. And by the time I could do an entire really well thought out growing experiment, it's end of summer. And that's when I was like, this stuff is awesome. I'm interested. He was like, well, great. Like we're headed into fall, but okay. And so my role was to provide like a package design and to market it via my social media channels. And that's where having a social media channel, whatever platform you choose, where you have an audience base that you need two things to be able to sell to people on social media, in my mind. You need the trust of your followers and you need them to like you. Like you need to be likable. Yeah. So that's where answering all the DMs and the comments for years and years and years comes in. I felt like I had a group of people that trusted me, that I'm not going to sell them ashes from a fireplace instead of insect frass and call it insect frass. If they were following me, hopefully they didn't hate me. And so we started doing this and it was going really well. But then he decided, we don't want to have to ship this anymore, blah, blah, blah. You take over the shipping. And I'm like, oh, okay. So they still sent me the bags of frass. Like they would get the bags, they would fill them, they would seal them, and then they'd ship them to me. And then I would take the orders because they were taking the orders before. I would take the orders and I would ship it. So I had to buy like mailers. Like I had to look up mailers. I had to learn how to work a Shopify storefront, pay for a Shopify storefront. That's like almost $400 a year. And then I had to buy a label printer. I didn't know anything about that. Like there's all of these costs started adding up. And I started realizing, ooh, I'm making like $1 a bag. Like how is this worth my time? Then they decided they wanted none of the business anymore. But I'm like, I really want to keep selling it because I think it's cool and I love it. So now I procure the insect frass. I don't actually have an insect farm. I procure the frass from a very reputable source that's located here in North Carolina. I had to order the bags. I ordered the wrong size bags, another learning experience. I had to design them online. That may have taken a month. I fill them. I had to buy a heat sealer so I can seal the bags. So now I'm in charge of all the operations. And that has been the biggest learning curve. But I don't regret it because I've learned so much that if I were to ever sell something else,
Right.
I know a little bit now. I won't say I know a lot, but I know enough.
Go back to the beginning of our discussion here where you said you don't have a job, and luckily you can do this. That's not only a job. I mean, you've taken on kind of a whole manufacturing and shipping facility.
Right. But I don't think, like, can you call it a job if you don't really make any money doing it? Like,
we can call it something. But that's the struggle. That's part of this hustle that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny as you were describing all of this, how this all really interconnects. First kind of stem from you just personally wanting to share your gardening journey daily and just have fun with the community, and how that kind of slowly or fastly, depending on what your time frame is, into now you're designing bags and you're talking with a soldier fly farm and getting all this, and you're filling it up and you're heat sealing. I mean, all of this from you just wanted to grow a tomato back in 2020.
I know, right?
This is the definition of the hustle.
Right. This is the definition of the hustle. And like, I just don't know how people make money. Like when I start, like, you know, I've started an account, I've got some free accounting software. I'm always trying to save $1 anywhere I can, but not in terms of quality of the product or anything. But, you know, so I've got free accounting software. And when I started looking at like, okay, well, I spent $500 on bags that are the wrong size. And I bought a heat sealer, and I had to buy like 200 eco envelopes, and I had to buy a roll of postage stamp things. And then I had to buy a printer, and then I had to buy 200 pounds, 400 pounds of bulk insect it's like, I'm like looking, I'm like, whoa, we're so in the red.
on top of, hey, Amanda, you've got to do a fun video today and post it.
Right. And then also I should be talking about my insect frass. I almost never talk about kick-ass frass on my channel. People are like, wait, what? You sell this? And I'm like,
and just to make sure people understood what you just said, kick-ass frass is the name of the product, right? That they can buy from you.
Kick-ass frass, which, you know, at one point, like they retained the name. I asked if I could buy it from them, the domain, and kickassfrass.com. And they're like, no, we're just going to hold on to it for now, but don't worry, you can keep using it. And then all of a sudden it went dark. So then I had to go register with GoDaddy and get kickassfrass.org and rebuild the entire website. Like, it has been, I don't even know what the word is to describe what it has been, but
it's a hustle.
It's a hustle. But I'm like, I'm working so hard, and I think other people are too, to make so little money that it's so, is it worth it? I don't know.
Before we get into some details, because I know you've got some details for us, at this point right now, have you broken even with your gardening passion? Anything that could be associated with your garden passion? Are you kind of broken even with all of your costs associated?
Let's see.
Uh-oh.
You need to mark down the time for that noise, because that'll be great for the like small clips.
35:22. Let's make that the intro of the podcast.
I make some weird noises sometimes. Okay. If I look at 2022 through current state of 2024, I can say I'm in the positive. But if I wanted to do just like a year or like since I started, then
right.
I don't know. I didn't want to look that far back. I want it to be in the green.
All right. So again, before we get into some details of, let's just say, the social media, how much you're making with your videos and all that stuff, what other ways have you added to try to monetize your gardening? Okay,
great. Yes. So I think one of the things, the first that everybody attempts to do in the beginning when they start looking at monetizing is an Amazon storefront.
Okay.
I consider that, I guess, affiliate adjacent, because you don't have a relationship with the brands that you're promoting via Amazon, right?
So how does that work?
It's like, so when I've ordered something from Amazon, Like I ordered my Rayo Temp compost thermometer, I think because you said Rayo Temp, you had one. I ordered it off Amazon. I used it. I'm like, ooh, works. I like it. I'll put it in my Amazon storefront so that if someone sees my compost thermometer in one of my mini compost videos and goes, where's your thermometer from? I can shoot them a link to my Amazon storefront to that product, and I'll get 3 cents if they purchase it.
Now, is that 3 cents in addition to the cost? So the customer is paying 3 cents more to pay you?
Nope. So Amazon is willing to pay people who have storefronts a percentage of their profit because they probably would not have gotten that sale had you not talked about it and sent them to Amazon.
Okay.
Right. And that's the way all affiliate relationships typically work, is the company realizes had this person not talked about it on their platform,
right,
we wouldn't have gotten the sale. So it's worth giving them this small percentage of our profit because otherwise we'd have no money from that sale.
Right. So the person that sees it on your social media account, which almost every post you put out there, you have something in the background that you're using, and you're not making an ad. You're just saying, hey, I'm starting my tomatoes in the wintertime, and people are like, oh, what are those that you're using? And you're like, oh, well, they're whatever it is. And so if you're curious and you want to check it out, they can go buy it. But you get those questions all the time. No matter what you post, people ask you about something in your video.
Oh yeah. So it behooves you as a time saver to have, like I keep a note on in the Notes app on my iPhone, links to the most commonly asked for things that people are going to always see when I'm out in my garden because they're like staple fixtures in my garden. And I know I'm going to get 20 DMs. Can I have the link for that? So I keep it handy. And it's a bonus if it's either something that I have gotten from Amazon, which I would prefer if it's not from Amazon, but we all buy from Amazon. So Jeff Bezos, I will happily take some of your money because you have enough. Or if it's with another affiliate company, I have to be able to send that link to a lot of people. And that time, I feel like you can be compensated for that by the company.
Most of the people that are probably listen to this podcast and this kind of mini series every day, I'm hustling, are going to be people that are going to be kind of in the same boat or starting things up and wanting to do some of the same things. So if they're wanting an Amazon storefront, is that something that you approach Amazon with, or does Amazon approach you and say, hey, you're kind of happening on Instagram or TikTok? How do you get a storefront, basically?
The way it worked when I got mine several years ago is you have to apply and you have to Google like Amazon associates and you apply and they don't tell you the criteria. And so you just cross your fingers. And the first, 10 times I applied, I was denied. And then something finally changed and I was accepted for it.
Yeah.
But I would like to reiterate, it is not a lot of money. And I don't ever recommend anything on my Amazon storefront that I have not purchased and used for an extended period of time to make sure it holds up. And if it is something I haven't purchased, it's only because what I purchased is no longer available. And then I write a note like, this is the closest thing I can find to it, but I don't actually have this one.
And that goes back to you talking about the trust factor that your viewers and followers have with you. I know that there's others that make a lot of money on the Amazon affiliate program, and they pretty much just kind of whore out any kind of product to post, and it's not as vetted as much as you would do. And I'm kind of the same way, but I think you go a couple steps further than I do on it because you're very much passionate about making sure that whatever it is that you're kind of recommending on Amazon, that you really, really love it. And you and I have talked about products before to where we're like, we're not crazy about this, and we kind of just don't promote or cut ties or whatever. So I think that's why you have a loyal viewer base or a loyal followership, if that's what you're supposed to say, because you haven't broken that trust yet.
Well, I'd like to
until you do.
Yeah, I'd like to point out two things. One, I don't want to promote consumerism. Like if you can get by without having to buy anything for your garden, then like don't buy anything. I can't think of anything I have in my garden that is like, other than maybe my overalls, that I consider like must have, like I would be really unhappy without
The
it.
see-through ones? Because I would recommend those also.
No, I don't. I returned the pink see-through ones, and I noticed they don't sell them anymore.
Yeah. I think Amanda's bump in followers or something, she hit a big one when
Yeah, that's when I hit 100,000, when I showed my see-through pink overall.
she went from 1,000 to 100,000, and it was like, oh, I just
Actually,
had these
I
overalls.
quite a few that day. Let's be honest. I'm in my late 40s, Brian. Ain't nobody wanting to see
Those were great overalls, and I was sad to see those go.
Okay, so I don't want to promote consumerism, and the reason you see me post links is because I know I'm going to get questions, and I am trying to save myself time. If I put in the caption, I got the seeds from Victory Seeds, I got the grow bags off Amazon, you can look at my storefront, I'm using this, then I reduce some of the questions that I have to respond to,
right,
by proactively putting the information out there. I am not trying to get you to buy anything. I actually hate buying stuff, and I don't want stuff, and I don't want other people to want stuff, but I'm just trying to save my sanity. And then the other thing I'd like to point out is that anyone who's listening to this, maybe they're trying to monetize their platform, but they're not in the gardening community. Maybe
right,
they're in fashion, DIY, home decor, fitness, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The gardening community appears to be a bit unique in their anti, like being sold to. Like you go to a fashion influencer or a DIY person who's showing you a project, people are going there because they want the link to every single thing they're seeing in that photo. I want that light fixture. I want that photo. I want that paint color. And so they're not upset by being inundated with links and products. But the gardening community is a different beast, and you have to walk a fine line with how much you promote or sell. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I think with any subcategory that you're kind of into, there's some consumerism within gardening, but I think a lot of the people that you and I kind of interact with mostly are very much trying to reuse a lot of the things that we have and try not to have to buy things, whether or not it's for an economical reason or it's because of you're trying to be better for the environment or whatever. And I respect all of that. Mine, I'll just be honest, it's more economical for me. Plus, it's kind of fun to reuse your things or whatever. But there's definitely, you scroll through within our gardening feed and it's people hawking product also. For the most part, I think most of the people that you and I probably interact with are a little bit more on the other side of that. So what is another thing outside of social media, Amazon marketing, or the Amazon affiliate? How else are you monetized or bringing in some income?
Okay, so Amazon storefront, I call that affiliate adjacent. But then you can develop actual relationships with brands or companies, and they will pay you a small percentage of the profit on a sale that you are driving. So you might get a discount code. And so anytime someone uses your discount code, they get 10% off their order. And then I get 7% of the company's revenue off of that sale. Another way is, the company doesn't give a discount code. They just provide the content creator a link. And every time someone clicks on that link and makes a purchase through that link, the company is going to pay the content creator a small percentage of their profits because they know that sale came from that content creator talking about it. So to me, those affiliate relationships are a bit different because I am actually talking on the phone or Zoom calling with the brand. I'm getting to know them, feel good about them. I've used their products. So the majority of the affiliate relationships I have are from products I paid my own money from, decided I really like this. I can feel good about promoting this and earn some money because I do think these brands should compensate people that are talking about their product in the right ways. So there's that affiliate relationship. And then you can earn directly from social media platforms, but holy crap, we could talk for days on that.
That's the next thing we're going to get into. So,
okay, so there's that. And then you could do some type of physical product. Like you, Brian, you used to sell, I don't know if you still do, t-shirts. You would get some passive income coming in from selling a physical product. I sell the physical product of the frass. Some people sell pottery. Some people sell lotion bars made from the calendula flowers in their garden.
Right.
So you can sell a physical product. And so to me, those are the main ones. Oh, sorry. Forgot about, paid promotions.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot about that one.
Talk about that.
But
yeah, definitely talk about that. I want to hear about that.
I haven't done many of those. My usual knee-jerk reaction is no, right away.
What's a ballpark deal, let's just say, of ones that you've kind of gotten?
Oh, like how much do they pay?
Yeah, like you have a company DM you and say, hey, Amanda, we'd like you to try to sell XYZ, and we're going to give you this. I mean, what are some of the numbers you've seen?
So the good companies, they will either they directly reach out to you, or they have a marketing company reach out to you and say, hi, this is the brand. They give you information on the brand. We have XYZ product that we're wanting to showcase, or a tree, or like a new grow bag. And we think that your content aligns with our product. Could you send us your rates for XYZ? They line out what they're interested in. We look forward to hearing back from you. That to me is a good intro, because then I can go research the product. I can go research the company. I know exactly what they're wanting from me,
right,
in terms of deliverables. And I send them over what's called a media kit, which you can just make in Canva. They have templates for media kits. And typically on a media kit, you're going to want to put things like how many followers you have on each of your platforms. Mine just has IG. Some of the statistics, like my followers are 83% female. This is the age range of my followers. Things like that. And then I'll put past brand collaborations and list some of the companies I've worked with in the past. And then I'll outline, okay, if you want an Instagram reel that will also include 2 stories, and I'll link your product in my link tree in my profile, it'll cost this much money. And my rule of thumb, whether it's right or wrong, is $100 for every 10,000 followers.
Okay.
So if I have 133,000 followers, that would be $1,300, right?
I struggle with trying to figure out, you're on Eastern Standard Time and I'm Central Standard Time, and when the podcast is going to start. So I'm not the person to ask that.
Okay. So $100.
That sounds similar to what I've heard other people talk about, okay, depending on how many followers you have, which is always kind of it's always funny though, isn't it? Because people, you always see when everybody's complaining about their accounts not growing or nobody's seeing their stuff, and they're like, well, quit looking at the vanity metrics. It's not all about your followers, and just have fun or anything. But also the other problem is you're not getting a sniff from any of these companies if you don't have the followers. What why people are so caught up, I think, with some of their numbers and the metrics, is because if they're trying to monetize, what are they going to monetize what are you presenting to the companies if you don't have a large following?
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Also, one of the other metrics I put on the media kit is reach and engagement. And those are so slippery, because it's like, what metric do you use? Do you use your reach over the last 90 days, over the last 30 days? Do you use your engagement on your last 5 posts, or for the last 90 days? Like, how do you even figure out engagement? What is the formula? So it's this very murky, weird place to play in. And you're right. I do think the number of followers plays a big role, but at the same time, some brands are shying away from big followers, and they would rather go with what's called, God, there's so many stupid names for anything, but like micro influencers that have a following of like 10,000 to 20,000.
Right.
Let's just say, like, the landscape changes constantly. So good luck trying to figure out what is actually important right now in terms of platforms and what brands want. I don't even know what I was talking about.
So right now, it's 2024. We're heading into June.
Uh-huh.
What are you banking on making money come June? What part of this tree in your hustle, what branch here are you going to be like, that's where the majority of the money, if I'm going to make something, is going to come in? Or is it truly a spin the wheel every month?
Yes, it's a spin the wheel. Like, okay, it relies on what am I going to effort in? Am I going to effort in promoting my frass, which I can't remember the last time I talked about it. Am I going to make a reel about it? Am I going to put the link for it in my stories? If I started promoting my frass, I could probably make some money on my frass in June. But
okay, so then that's the question. What are you going to put your effort into? Because I think in your head, you know what the better return is and what's more fun to do. So what effort are you going to put into going into June? Are you going to be like, I'm going to make sure I do this because I know I'm going to get some kind of return out of it? Or do you really not have one? You're just like, for you, it could change on the daily basis to where there's not one that stands out and it's almost a roulette wheel.
I think I would like to do meaningful brand paid partnerships. But the problem is, for them to be meaningful to me means they're pretty few and far between.
Right.
I have said, to be honest, people shouldn't take advice from me because I have said no to more brand paid partnerships than I've said yes to because they don't feel right, or it's not a product I want to promote, or it's never a product I've never used, or it's a company I'm like, I don't know, or it's not organic. So I'm trying
that's the struggle though, that I think people really need to figure out what they're all about and what relationship they have with their followers and the friends that follow them, because we probably both know people within just the gardening community that any deal that comes their way, they've got it up on their feed.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I have been around the block a few times, we've seen all the deals, everything that's kind of come about, and you're like, oh, I know they're hawking this thing, and it's a piece of shit product, and you're like, I'm happy for them as a friend, but then it's like you risk losing the trust of the followers that you have. So this is the question I asked. I would have you ask people that are coming into this wanting to monetize or whatever, make it a hustle. Are you willing to risk the trust that you've built up for the free plastic gardening piece that's going to go out into your garden?
Right. So I would say people sometimes are blinded by the short-term gain by sacrificing their long-term longevity earning potential. So if you're not playing the long game, if you're being short-sighted with, I'm just going to go on a money grab for everything I can get right now, I do think your account will deteriorate. I think your following will become disenchanted with your channel. And I think you will end up making less money than you would if you go slow and are careful.
So at the end of the podcast here, because we could go on quite a bit with a lot of the details that you have, I'd like to get into some monetary details that you may have there in front of you. And I'm not sure exactly what you have written up. Do you want to talk a little bit about the platforms themselves? Because I think it's probably the easiest thing that we all hope to make money on is like Instagram paying you just to make videos.
So I think the ideal scenario is that content creators, and I would just like to differentiate between a content creator and an influencer. An influencer, in my mind, is someone that is actively wanting to influence you to do something, to make a purchase, whatever. And a content creator is someone who is creating content to put out into the universe, and it might have brands or merchandise attached to it, but that's like secondary to the point. The point is to put out the info or the fun, and then if you end up making money from it, awesome. But like an influencer, like they're waking up every day and they're like, let's earn the money. For content creators, the ideal is that the platform realizes your value and that it needs your content to exist and pays you accordingly. The problem is the platforms are changing their criteria for payment all the time. Different programs, different criteria. You need to use trending music. Music doesn't matter. Hashtags are in, hashtags are out. We're going to do badges. We're going to do gifts. We're going to do a spring bonus. We're going to pay you based on your views, but we're going to throttle your views. So it is so hard to try and make money on, and I'm only speaking for TikTok and Instagram. because I can't speak to YouTube. I don't make any money over there.
Mm-hmm.
That I think if that is your idea, that you can hop on one of those platforms and get paid by the platform, I think you're in for a rude awakening. And so let's talk actual details. I have been on Instagram for 4 years. I have 133,000 followers. I have never purchased followers. Okay, that is organic. And let's see, in 2022, that was my banner year. That's when IG played around with actually paying bonuses for content. And I made $4,000 that year, which was actually like from October to December. So that was awesome. And I thought, this is great. This is sustainable. And then they took it all away.
Right.
So then in 2023 on Instagram, just from being paid by Instagram, the company Meta, $740. It's a huge difference. That's an entire year. That's 12 months. And then 2024 so far, I have made $274 from Meta. That includes Facebook, but I don't really understand what's going on over there. Everything just gets reposted over there from Instagram. So I don't know.
Right.
But on Instagram, it's been ads on Reels and ads in profile feed, neither of which I really understand.
Well, you made a post today on your account, and this is why I enjoy watching some of the stuff that Amanda puts out there, because unlike probably most of the other type of accounts that, let's just say, that are monetized, that are making it kind of a hustle or whatever. I mean, Amanda does get pretty raw with and transparent with a lot of the numbers. Today, I think you posted something about opting out of some things because you think that you are being throttled back.
Yeah, and the throttling hurts you in a couple ways. A company doesn't want to pay you for your content if your content is seen by 2,000 people and you have 133,000 followers. The moment I signed on for the spring bonus, because I thought, okay, free money, great. I'm already putting the content out there. Yes, pay me for it. The moment I did, the next reel I posted, it got 2,000 views. And then the next one I posted, 2,000 views. It was this very consistent, we're only going to let 2,000 people see it. Like, and I was just stunned. It was so blatant. They didn't even try and hide it. So I opted out of the spring bonus, get rid of that. I'm like, get rid of ads on Reels, get rid of ads in profile feed, because, for 2023, you can't make a living on $740 for the entire year. Like, that's just, I don't know. And like I feel like Instagram is getting one over on me. They're plastering my stuff with feeds, with ads that I have no control over. You don't even know what they're going to be. It's just not worth it.
It's $700-800 for the 2023 year, and the amount of content that you put out there. And I know just on the goofy videos that you do, how long those would have to take, because I make responding videos like that to you, and we just have a good time just being goofy. And I know how much effort and time it takes for that. So you think about, go and look and see all of the video content that Amanda created in 2023, and we can probably say for Instagram, even though you're kind of repurposing some on the different platforms, which, just to be efficient, you have to do. That's a pretty good deal for Instagram.
Yeah, it is.
For Amanda,
I mean, some of my reels get 3.6 million views. How am I only earning?
And it's all angry men telling you how to hold a drill.
Yeah.
But it's a great deal because they get Amanda to create a whole bunch of content out of her time. And then they have thousands of Amandas that they can pull from. And I'm sure they have an algorithm that figures out what's the least amount of money we can pay that still benefits Instagram by lowering and raising certain people by playing with those numbers, because they make the rules of the payouts. They only let you know, a little bit as to, okay, what the criteria is for some things.
Yeah. I mean, they're so shifty. They want you to pay to get that verified blue check mark. They want you to do subscriptions, because I'm sure that monthly subscription fee, I'm sure some of it goes to Instagram, right? So every day they're trying to make me sign up for us, like, to have a subscription service so that my followers have to pay to see my content. That's like another way they would make money. I refuse to do that. yeah, they're just, I don't know. They're so shifty. It's so frustrating. And like, I think a lot of people see some influencers on Instagram and they don't talk about their specifics, but like they look like they're making bank, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know how they are. I don't know.
Well, and then that's the funny thing, because then you'll have other people that look at you and assume that you're making bank.
Probably, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And they're like, oh, there's Amanda probably selling the hat that she has on and the glasses and the frames that are on the wall.
Yeah, my kids' artwork over there. Yeah, and then like let's take TikTok. So TikTok is also shifty. They're changing the playing field. They want short form videos. Now they want videos longer than a minute. Now they're wanting everybody to sell TikTok shop crap from China. Yeah. Like it's a whole hot mess over there. And 13,000 followers. I've made $14.91 lifetime over at TikTok. So what is that? Like
it's bizarre. I can't make anything of it. I love the fact that you're able to have your research and you've pulled all these numbers. I'm a mess when it comes to that. And I barely am able to get stuff to my tax people at the end of the year for them to kind of figure stuff out. Mm-hmm. And kind of like what you had said, there's been times where Instagram for 3 months has been great for me. And then it'll shift over to TikTok to where I was making some pretty good money for a few months there. And the funniest story that I can come up with about that is, I don't know if it was a year ago or a year and a half ago on TikTok. And I had things kind of roll in. And I think I was probably like, Amanda, you got to put some more time into TikTok. And
the moment you said that.
And I was at a point to where I'm like, I have to upgrade some stuff if I'm going to continue doing this. So this is getting into where you have to start investing and putting some money in to not only continue, but to just keep going on here. And I was like, I think that I can pay for a brand new Mac Studio in a matter of 6 months with just the TikTok bonus, whatever the bonus was at the time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it was 2 or 3 months, and I was getting, I don't know, $250 a month or something just from views of just creating videos that I just normally create. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, finally something breaks for the good guys, right?
Right.
And the second I say that and I place my order, it was never the same after that. I made nothing, and it all just dried up for whatever reason.
I believe that these social media platforms, they dangle the carrot. They give you a taste, right? And you get addicted and you're like, "Oh, yeah." And then when they take it away, you want to keep chasing it. Okay, my content must just not be that good. I'm going to put out better content. I'm going to put out more content. I'm going to get back up to that $250 a month. That was really nice.
Right.
But it's rigged against you. You're not going to get up to that 250, but you're working hard for that platform.
That's the so getting back to earlier, you had mentioned in the end a lot of people telling you YouTube is probably where it's at, which I think I'm kind of on board with. If we're having to pick between the platforms, YouTube has its own issues as well.
Yes, they do. Once
you can kind of get things going on YouTube, they do have a better ad revenue sharing program with their creators.
That's what I've
It's
heard.
just a matter of getting to that point. Yeah. And that's not guaranteed, obviously. And we're simply comparing the platforms. I think you have to kind of do what you're doing in a sense that you have to be diversified enough. If this is a hustle that you want to do, you can't just rely on Instagram and making your videos. You've got to be diversified into multiple platforms and then start looking into some other things as well, to where instead of just content stuff and earning off of views, you're doing the affiliate kind of links. If you're able to do that, you're doing what you can to grow your account to whatever, if it's a micro influencer or a larger account, to where you have companies actively seeking you out. I know I've had people ask me, well, how did you get some of the deals that you've gotten before? I think 99% of the time it's the company will find you.
Right.
I rarely have seen and verified to where I have or somebody I know actively went and got a deal. It can happen, but for most of us, those companies are going to find you.
Right.
And you have to put yourself into the bigger picture, because how many people are emailing and messaging these companies saying, hey, I want to be an affiliate, or I want to be can I get a free product or something? They get it, thousands of them. Yeah. So they're strategically going after people.
Right. So I have a few pieces of advice based on my experience, and take it for what it's worth with a grain.
Perfect. That's how I want to end the podcast. What are some tips?
Okay. So I can tell you that from 2022 to 2024, through Amazon storefront and affiliate relationships, affiliate sales, I've made $8,000. I don't think that's anything to sneeze at, because it doesn't require a lot of work, right? Like, you're not having to produce content because you're getting paid for that reel, and you've got is this going to be good enough? And you're not selling a physical product. That's a lot of work. So to me, the least amount of work for the return is affiliate relationships, but with the caveat of you can't be an affiliate for everything. You have to pick the things that you love and develop a relationship with the brand. So if you want to do brand partnerships, a couple things you need to keep in mind. They're going to try and get you to accept free product in return for your content. And whether or not you want to do that, that's up to you. I do not like doing that. And I think we're worth being paid, because I can't go to the grocery store and say, hey, here's a grow bag, I'll take my groceries.
Right.
Think about how these brands are finding people. How are they doing it? What are they doing? They're going to the search within an app like Instagram, and they're plugging in some keywords. So how are you going to be found when they plug in those keywords? So you might want to start doing the alt text. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you can add alt text, alternative text to your reels, so that people with disabilities, like who can't see, your stuff will come up and it'll describe the picture to them. So if I'm posting about my tomatoes in my raised beds, I might put raised beds, tomatoes, summer gardening, blah, blah, blah. And that is one of the ways that the search engine will find your stuff. So if a company is plugging in grow bag gardening, you want to have some content about grow bag gardening, and you want to be found when they search it. So I know hashtags are out, but making sure that in the text of your reel, it says grow bags, or like just some of the keywords that you want to partner with, you need to be findable. So you can go search and see who comes up. Like go search, if you want a raised bed deal, go search raised beds in Instagram and see which accounts come up, and figure out how you're going to get there. Start looking at their content and how they put their caption, if they put alt text, how they word everything, that kind of thing.
I can only smile and not say anything, because the example you used, I know of who comes up a lot within that example. And I'm like,
I wasn't even thinking about that.
I know you weren't, because as you're talking about it, I'm not saying anything. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Because I know that what Amanda was describing there, I know exactly if you were to punch that in, who normally is there. And I find it funny.
I'll just be clear. My grow bags are from Amazon and Grow Oya.
See, there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Amanda, a fantastic episode, a lot of stuff to kind of chew on for people that have or want to get into, whether they want to call it a side hustle, a hustle. A lot of the things, probably most of the things that we talked about, is not specific to gardening, which is what you're coming from, taking your gardening passion, and then we kind of detailed out some ways that you were making money here and there. You can apply almost anything we talked about to, if you're into books, video games, tools, anything like that. There's a lot of the things that Amanda was talking about today that can apply to you. And it's just something that to keep in mind and to ask the questions. And just remember, Amanda and I say this as well, what has worked for her or doesn't work for her, or what she likes to do or doesn't like to do, doesn't necessarily apply to me or you or anybody else, but it's just something to it's information for you to process as you're going through your own journey and how to do this. I think it's a lot harder to try to do these kind of side hustles than most people kind of think prior to them kind of jumping in and getting in. It could be absolutely worthwhile. Just don't forget, you're going to see more positive outcomes on your feed of people that are doing this than all the people who struggle or who fail from it. Of the ones that seem to be like they're succeeding, you got to kind of sift through what are they really putting out there and what's going on behind the scenes. We talked about that tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I probably should document how much time I spend filming, editing, answering questions in a week to see, because just to let people know, over the past 3 years, well, 2022 to current state of 2024, I've made $15,488 across all the platforms, all the affiliates, whether I did a garden consult, like drove to someone's house and did a garden consult. One time I got paid to write a blog post for a company. Add all that up, and in like 2.5 years, it's around $15,500. So don't quit your day job. I mean, that's hustling. That's having my hand in a lot of different pots and trying to keep everything afloat. And I don't know if people would consider that worth it.
Yes, correct.
I don't know. That's everybody's own opinion. Is all that work worth $15,500 over the course of 2.5 years? I don't know.
Right.
It's not going to support a family.
You can do everything right and make all the right decisions in this side hustle business and get zero return out of it. Whereas you'll turn around and see somebody that, let's just use the example that I sent to Amanda, I think yesterday, where I came across an account and I just rolled my eyes at the thumbnail. This was on, I believe, YouTube, but I think they're on all the platforms. And the thumbnail was within gardening. Technically, she was in her garden, and it was just a lot of boobage. All the angles were right, let's just say. And I saw this, and I kind of just rolled my eyes, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm looking at this too pessimistically. I need to send this to my friend Amanda just to make sure that I'm not being crazy about it. And so I was like, what do you think about this? And I sent it to Amanda. You went further than I did in your comment about it.
Oh, I did a deep dive into all that T and A, because that's what it was. It was all T and A. And I was like, you know what? At first I was just like shocked and like, oh my God. But then I was like, this chick is so smart, because no one's watching this for gardening.
I think that the video, I don't know how long it had been out or something, but it had like 60,000, 70,000 views on it, and puts in probably the same amount of work on that video that, let's say, you or I would do on something kind of similar for showing people how to do something.
I think less.
You discount how many times you have to go back to the camera and make sure that the angle that you're getting is the right angle. Because if you're looking at the thumbnail, that the one that I sent to Amanda, this was like the perfect, you couldn't pose if you were just tilted a little differently. It's not the same. This was like the perfect pose to get everything in there. And I'm like, I try not to hate on it. 5-10 years ago, I'd be all about watching the video and just be like, oh damn, I want to do some raised beds too.
I mean, did you not watch it? Oh, no. I watched it, and then I started watching some of the others. It's like I couldn't look away.
See, this is Amanda's kind of like me 10 years ago.
Yeah, she's
just
so
there
smart,
for the TNA.
man. She knows what she's doing. She has found the formula, because holy crap. But like,
and if you're somebody that has that, fine. It's fine. I understand. We all use what we have. Yeah, but it is frustrating.
We can't compete with that.
It's frustrating too, because I know how much effort it goes into making a video and in researching and stuff, and you're just like, how do you compete? And you can't compete.
You can't compete with her pulling weeds in outfits that no one ever gardens in.
You tried though. You tried with the see-through overalls.
I did. I mean, to be fair, I didn't know they were see-through when I got them, but then I was like, oh, hey.
We all did though. All right, Amanda, I appreciate it. Thanks for spending some time with us on Every Day I'm Hustlin, the series where we talk about just normal people and their hustles and what they're trying to do and how successful they are at doing it, and the honest stories behind it. So, all right, everybody here at Tossing Salad, which is just me, to be honest with you, we will see you all next time. See ya.